Hello, welcome to Wicked Women. I thought we were all on the stage. Obviously, we weren't. It is Sunday night, Sunday, the 18th of January. This was my birthday week, and another year younger, another year wiser. So, there you go. How's everyone been? How's your week been? I hope it's been a good week. Mine's been a bit up and down, good and bad parts to it. Weather could have been a damn lot better over here. But yes, welcome to Wicked Women. I am your host, Wendy. I'm coming to you live from London, UK, just out of London, but we use London. And my co-host, the lovely Val, is, as you know, on her little sabbatical because she's not feeling too well, but she will be back with us as soon as she is. So in the meantime, we thought, who do we need to, sort of take the slack up, really? And we thought, well, we need someone from Virginia. We need someone who's not, easy on the eye. We need someone who's got the accent. So here we go. So I'm going to bring in my my co-host for this evening is the lovely Michael. Let's bring him in. Hello, Michael.
Happy birthday, love.
Thank you.
I don't know if the post has got your cards yet. But,
I do have my card. I haven't picked it up yet from Mum, but I will. Hi, Charlie. Hi, Steve. Hi, Scotty. And Carlene. I'm trying not to look at all the comments because they put me off, but it's like, how you been, Michael? Good to see you. Thanks for filling in for Val.
Like I said, anytime, and she knows that if you're going to carry the banner for Wicked Women, you got to be able to step in and get your hands, dirty.
Exactly.
And like I said, we had the opportunity. I was going to tell Steve, that was really great chatting to people who watched the show, and the feedback is really good.
100%.
And if you don't know Steve, lovely guy. We're trying to get him on camera, but
he's like one of these days. Now, obviously, there are people in the chat room, including my podcaster hubby, and I will bring him in a short while. But it's like literally just to start the show off, because just to give you a bit of a update, we have Mark English definitely coming onto Wicked Women on the 1st of February, a taste of paranormal. So that's going to be so much fun. It's going to be so much fun to have Mark on.
His book real quick.
I'm not quite sure what has his book, which you can get from Amazon.
I don't know what it is.
Paranormal Surrey.
I don't know what £16.99 is. Might be like $20.
Well, I mean, he told me the other week he got a small what do they call it when you sell a book and you get a share of it? He got a smaller check, and he said it was enough to buy something to eat. Hi, Keith. So anyway, we're going to do this subject. It's a subject which everyone thinks of the song Marvin Gaye, Sexual Healing. I've got to put my glasses on. This is the part of the show when I put my glasses on. We're talking about sexual healing. And to me, when I looked at this subject and we talked about it, it wasn't just like, it was sex. It was about, actually, there's many different kinds of healing through sex, or having been healed through sex. And that's a weird thing to say, isn't it? Sex healed me, or, I had a healing experience through sex. But I wanted to bring up a couple of things.
An outer body experience, but never a healing experience.
Yeah. It's like, there's quite a few things I wanted to look at, because intimacy comes in many forms. As we're aware, there's touch and I always like that sort of scene from what's that film, Devil's Advocate, with Al Pacino. Touch, was it you can touch but don't taste but don't swallow. I love that. But it's bringing up like intimacy. So let's have a look at that, because she says, trying to bring it up here.
But that,
So
that goes back
intimacy
to
comes in many different forms, and physical intimacy can be a source of comfort and healing. Simple gestures, just like holding hands, pinching bums, hugging, sharing reassuring touches, releases oxytocin, which is a hormone that's linked to bonding and stress reduction. And basically, safe and consensual physical closeness and touch can ground us. And there's something very powerful, Michael, about the human touch. I don't know about you. I was talking to a friend of mine today, and I said, I need a big hug because I haven't been hugged for so long. I mean, your mate kind of goes like that, but where someone really holds you and pulls you into them, and you feel their energy, that is something I've not had in a few years now. And literally, it's something that I think I crave.
I used to think that was crazy about people, and they talk about sharing energy. And a lot of times, if you are that intimate and you are that close, you are sharing. You are in each other's aura. And the older I get, kind of the more new age I get, the more things I'm opening to. Um, but yeah, sometimes what is the old saying? Sometimes you just need a good cuddle and a good cry.
Yeah.
And that goes back to, like we was talking about, love language and stuff like that. And that's the reason I always tease about, what are you doing? I want to cuddle the dog and watch TV. And it's like sometimes the different touch, sometimes like you said, you just need a hug.
Yes. Yeah, you
And
do.
and a lot of times, if you don't have somebody right there with you, things can come in, and it's just the feeling of having some other soul with you that you're there close to. And like I said, the physical touch goes way back. It goes back to like nursing. You know what I'm saying? A lot of times, some of the best nurses, you got
But
somebody
also,
really sick.
when we're born, the first person that touches us is our mother. If we're in that situation, the first
Yeah.
person who holds us is our father or our mother.
Yes.
That's where the initial bonding and linking with that closeness goes. And I think
Emotional bond.
if you've been through a lot of trauma, or have a lot of emotional wounds, intimacy can be quite daunting because it's like, can I put myself through that again? Can I rebuild my trust? And I think that's an important thing to look at, because trauma can turn us from one person to another. Philosopher, if I can pronounce his name right, Bertrand Russell said, those who have never known the deep intimacy and the intense companionship of mutual love have missed the best thing in life that life has to give. Interesting. Those who have
That's
never
the,
known the deep intimacy and the intense companionship of mutual love have missed the best thing that life has to give.
you know, um, that's the reason I always say young love is so whatever, because all your hormones are up. That you just cannot get enough. The hand holding, the PDA, and that's all that. And that goes back to what a lady told me the other day when I was discussing on what the topic was going to be this week. And she said, when you're first together or whatever, you shower together, you sit together, and everything else. And sooner or later, you get complacent. It's like, oh, go take your shower, I'll be there, or whatever. Or you go sit on the couch, I'll be in there in a minute. And when you're first together, you're always together. It's, what was it say? Two minds, one soul. And that's a lot of times, I think that's kind of what he's talking about is, that deep interconnections that you have when you,
Connection.
yeah, like a Lego block. When you snap together, the pieces fit and it feel right, and like,
I agree with you totally, because I mean, the thing is, when you're growing up, as I said, you get most of your intimacy or holding hands with your parents, or maybe a sibling, or maybe a best friend, and then you discover the opposite sex, or
yeah,
maybe the same sex, whatever you're drawn to, you'll be drawn to them, and then this whole new bag opens of like, attraction, physical intimacy, emotional closeness, all the hormones, like you say, are going.
Rampant
And the thing
and rabid.
my growing up is that I wasn't allowed to talk about sex. I wasn't. It was like, shh, shh, you don't talk about sex. And if you
Very
do
taboo.
talk about sex, you've got to be careful that you're not. What's the word I want to use? You're not.
Taboo.
You're not doing it. You're not doing it. It's those what.
Oh,
My sister would sort of say to me the odd time. She'd say, yeah, you can ask me anything, but don't ask mum. Don't ask mum. And so I didn't learn about a lot about it, especially when I was growing up in the 80s. God, that feels like a long time ago. But growing up in the 80s, it's a whole new ball game now. Everyone's talking about sex. Everyone.
yeah. Sex in the City, one of your favorite shows. They had a whole show, nothing
It
but
is.
sex.
Really, it's really a lot.
But I said, I grew up out in the country, and I remember when we was in school, we had like a 45-minute talk, and the gym teacher come in. It's like, if you put that in there, you got to put this on it. There you go. Carry on. And and it's like trial and error. You know what I'm saying? Nobody give you a handbook that said this is what you need to do. This is the emotions that they never talk about the emotional unloading of what it is when you give yourself to somebody, male or female.
Well, but I think because if you think about it from the word dots, sex has always been it's there for procreation to if you look at the Bible and you go back to medieval times, it was like you weren't, as a woman, you were not really supposed to enjoy sex that much.
No.
Your whole thing was like, I've got to like, not lie here and take it, but I've got to pronounce myself to my husband, and he's going to like get me pregnant because that way I've done my job. I've given him a child. And it's interesting.
There's an heir, ain't that what is? Oh, what was the king? What was the king at? And like I said, we now found out that the man's sperm dictates what the sex of the baby is. Yeah, and he lined them up. He's like, oh, another girl. Oh, she got to go. And I'm like,
and the thing is, Val and I actually did medieval sex.
Yeah.
You can find that on a previous show that we did. But one thing I wanted to say is when I was at school, AIDS had just come out, HIV had just come out, and they were like telling everybody, you've got to be really careful. And there was those, I don't know if you had them, but we had those adverts over here where it was a big tombstone and it had HIV or AIDS on it. It was like, it was almost daunting. And then the tombstone would slam down onto the ground. And you were like, oh my God, at the end of the day, so AIDS had come along and everyone was scared about it. No one knew what it was, and everyone thought it just basically was the illness that affected homosexuals, which actually wasn't true, because it was all of us that could get it. And we weren't taught about that in school. It was still not spoken for. My sex education in school was a video of a frog and another frog. And then there was a video of a rabbit and another rabbit. And then all of a sudden AIDS came out. And the next thing you know, they're all giving you, and I pronounce exactly as my teacher said at the time, you all have a wooden willy. You all have a wooden willy. And this is a condom. And we're going to teach you how to put it on. Well, because all the school was like, we've gone from no sex education for frogs and rabbits, now with a wooden willy and a condom. That was the sex education I got.
Where, like I said, I'm from Southwest Virginia, and it used to be the buckle of the Bible Belt. If they would have brought a condom out and showed us in school, the church would have been beating their door down.
I would imagine.
What are you showing these kids? Because even that would have been taboo. And like I said, but I remember the concerts they had. What was it? Boy George. What was it? Michael. George Michael's. Because Freddie Mercury, Queen, died of AIDS.
The world lost a wonderful man when
and And then what was the other one? Wears the big glasses. Oh, Rocket Man.
So Elton John, I mean, Elton
Yeah,
John, thank
yeah.
God, never ever got it. And he
No,
said, I'm surprised that I haven't got it because of all the
but
things I've got up to. So,
like I said, that's another one that I could always see doing the concerts, and they tried to educate. But I tell people it went from the free love, in the '60s, sex, drugs, and rock and roll to like
yeah,
stay at home and keep it in your pants. Don't do as we did, do as we tell you now. And it was like a total turnaround from sexual liberation. Women, burn your bras, don't wear no knickers. Get out
exactly.
there to set on it like your life depends on it. And
That was
I'm
a
like,
bit before my time. I mean, because I'm child of the 70s. But
yeah,
like literally, I grew up in a family where it was like, shh, you
no,
don't talk about it. And as times have gone on, my family's changed and everything's changed so much. Um, and I also found that now the kids, they know everything now. It's like they know so much.
they got
And
the
also,
internet, and if you want to learn something, you just type it on the internet.
and the thing that people were, the one sexual disease that people would talk about was VD, venereal
Yeah,
disease. That was the only sexual disease that people talked
yeah,
about. Um,
but
and we'd never heard of chlamydia. That was
no,
something that we hadn't heard of.
mm,
And everyone had heard of, I think, of genital warts and
yeah,
herpes.
yeah.
And also the other one, what's the other one?
Also, when
Tricky.
you get from drinking from they call it the kissing disease. You get it from drinking after people at mono. Yeah,
Mono.
yeah, yeah, mono.
And
I
we
know
call
we had.
that, yeah.
You call it the what, honey?
We call it, you guys call it mono. We call it glandular fever. Glandular fever. Um,
I know there's an outbreak of mono in my high school, and everybody thought it was just. I thought they was going to quarantine the whole high school, put us under the tent, and have armed
yeah.
guards at the doors. And I'm like,
But it was weird because I can't believe I'm even talking about this, but it's like, it was like us girls would talk about, like, you know, as we were taught in school, the wooden willy. It was
yeah,
like God. It was like all of a sudden it was like, oh my God, did
God,
you see what we did? Oh my God, can we do this? And there were girls getting pregnant at my school quite young, and you'd be like, oh my God, she's pregnant. How did that happen? Because we were so different, and I think that
naive.
because they were ostracized. If there was an unmarried mother in your school at
Yeah.
the age of 15 to 16, they were ostracized because it was like that wasn't the
That was the same here. You know, they would get to go to school until they started kind of showing the baby bump, and once the baby bump came, they disappeared. They come back next year. But they'd
That's
send
right.
them. What is it? What is it? They used to have the the home for wayward mothers. It is like, oh no, she's staying with her aunt in San Diego. You know,
Yeah.
and it's like just disappear. So, like I said, things, like I said, born in the '70s, raised in the '80s, and like I said, and like I said, I did all of my crimes before they had a smartphone to
But
videotape it. Thank God
the world was a different place, Michael, because
it
I
was.
was watching it. It was a great series on, I can't remember its name, but it was about music from the 70s going into the 80s. And it just goes to show, as I still think Generation X is probably one of the greatest generations
Yeah,
of
yeah.
the
It's
time,
like,
because we went through such especially using from the UK side of things, we went through such a difference in change, all the different music, the politics, all the strikes there was in the UK. Music was our history, it was our backbone, it got us through the tough times. And I think that there was the punk era, new romantic, goth, that sort of era going into Madonna. And when Madonna came on the scene, I think women, young girls, became more sexually aware, because here was Madonna with her bra and
oh yeah,
erotica,
yeah, yeah.
you know.
The pointed thing looked like she'd poke your eye out. Yeah,
And it was kind of like, well, hang on a minute. It was an eye opener. We'd had Debbie Harry, obviously very gorgeous, and there'd been other singers, but Madonna really sort of knocked the doors down. And I think that's where, looking round, I was, what was I, 86 onward was when I really kind of went, oh, maybe maybe there's something in this thing. And I didn't, I was quite a late developer, late follower. And literally, I can honestly say that it terrified me. The thought of actually losing my virginity, especially with all the HIV and AIDS thing, was very scary.
Um, the running joke about Madonna here was she went to Hollywood with just a shirt on her back. She took it off and become a star.
Yeah.
And and she knocked down a lot of doors because before that you had like Cindy Lauper or whatever. Girls just want to have fun.
Yeah.
But she wasn't the overtly over the top with the sexuality and stuff like that. Madonna, a lot of like a virgin and some of the other one. It's like Material Girl. She basically said, "I use my body for currency. This is how women get ahead." I'm thinking, wow. That and there's a lot of radio stations here that wouldn't play Madonna because she was too controversial over the way she portrayed her sexuality. And
Yeah, she was. She really didn't care. She knocked down all the doors. And the thing is, what I think is very important that we don't, when we're looking at sexual healing, is that sex is actually has a life force of its own. I mean, it has its own power on its own. I mean, as Val and I did in a previous show about, oh my God, Mr. Crowley, what's his name? Was it Alexander Crowley?
No, Aleister
Crowley. Yes, he believed that you could reach, in certain areas of orgasm, different heights, different powers, have different experiences, and touch the sky. Hi, Val, there she is.
Yeah.
But actually, truly making love and sex and intimacy, I believe, are a healing force. They have a. If you have a true connection with someone, and you not just, there's a difference between the quick shag, and there's a difference between the intimate connection with somebody. Do you, as a guy, totally see that there's a difference between?
That's what I was getting ready to say. There's a difference between a quick, like you said, a quickie where you shag and bag and you haul ass, or if you actually, share your body and the experience with somebody else, and it took me a long time to grow up and realize there was a difference between shagging and making love. I'm trying to be PG. I get figure if Austin Powers can say it, so can I. But that's why I tell people there is a difference, because you want to, when you're making love, it's more like mind, body, soul. You're giving a part of yourself.
Yes, you are.
To the other person. And all depend on, and it could go back to tops or bottom, and it's like, are you giving or receiving more? And there's different people who get more out of both or either. And then again, if you just got like the 3 o'clock in the morning booty call, it's like you call them up, say, "Hey, can you be here in 30 minutes? I got 20 minutes. Get what you can get." And you got to roll out.
Well, because if you pick up a good point there, because I think when you connect with someone on an intimate level, it's a very precious gift. And it's easy, as you said, it's easy to take it for granted and to lose how important that connection, physically, sensual intimacy is between two people. Through having sex, lovemaking, whichever way you want to use it, we actually have that life force, that power in our hands, so to speak. We control that, but we're giving part of that power as someone's giving their power over to us. And apparently, sex is very good for you. It reduces the risk of heart disease, lowers blood pressure, manages pain. There you go, Val.
Great. It'll fix a headache for all these women who says, "I have a headache."
And improves brain health. It also, I'm just quoting this, a significant correlation also exists between higher ejaculation frequency and a reduced risk for prostate cancer later in life. So from what they're saying is we were meant to, as human beings, we're meant to connect, we're meant to join, and we pass, I do believe, our life force, we share our life force, and it is in sex that we do it. Women are more likely, I have to say, to be in the mood if we've had a good night's sleep. Because if we have only had 1 hour's sleep and we're up with the children, etc., etc. Exactly, Val. That's true. I know what you mean. You don't actually want it. So if you've got if you've got children and they're keeping you up all night and you're really tired, you may not feel like you want to have sex because you're like, I'm really tired. I need a break. I mean, even as a dad, that might affect you, right, Michael?
Oh yeah, like I said, and now I've told this story before. When you got kids, you got to get it in when you can, and it's like, like I said, growing up, my kids, it's probably going to scar them, but I don't give a shit. You know what I'm saying? You put in Barney, you take the VCR, you slap Barney, and you love me, I love you. You slap that door and you get it in before Barney tape runs out. I used to not be able to hear Barney without saying, "Yep, time to go shut the bedroom door."
Yeah.
But yeah, kids sometimes, and that kind of cuts into the time of a couple's time to embrace each other, to share each other, because you did the oversharing to end up with kids. Then you don't have time to share yourself with your partner after you have kids. My mom used to say the best birth control in the world was a house full of kids.
See, I've heard that too. The other thing is, if you think about it, when we were growing up, there wasn't mobile phones. And the telephone was a lifeline. Like you'd be like, "Can I borrow the phone, Mum? You've got like 2 minutes." But the thing is now,
then you had to hide behind the door and try to have a personal conversation here. And
a lot of single people, guys, probably more than women, maybe, they use it to have phone sex or get off. They'll start sending you messages.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you're making me feel like this, blah, 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 blah. And the next thing you know exactly which way it's going to go. Oh. And they want you to talk dirty to them. Now, don't get me wrong. That has its moments, has its places, and it can all be a lot of fun. But if it's with somebody that you're not that, you've only just met or whatever. Yeah. And as I said, I met, I went out on a date with someone and we were on our first date having dinner. We're in a lovely sort of pub, just chatting away. And they actually I almost choked on my food and we must look at this, as a show. And he said to me, "I'm actually into pegging. I have my own kit." And I almost choked on my food because I'm like, this is the first date, and this is what we're doing now. This is the intimacy of getting to know someone. It's like, let's put it out there. What's happened to romance and dating?
It's dead. Like I said, a lot of things, in this modern world, all these people who have got so progressive or whatever, they have killed off the chivalry of men. Men are supposed to open car doors. They're supposed to hold the door. They're supposed to pull your seat out. They're supposed to push you in. Walk, you walk to the inside of the sidewalk away from traffic. And a lot of people have got like, I can do that myself, or I can do this. So anymore, the chivalry, the gentleman side of men have went away. And I have saw that. And it really, really irritates me because I get it all the time. Manners make it the man. Be genteel. And it comes from her.
It does.
And I get that. And I have told her, I want to dress. And I have seen TikToks of this. The guys dress up like the guys from Pinky Blinders. They've got the hat, the coat. And these women are turning around doing a double take because they see a manly man walking through a mall, to a train station or an airport. And they got the big wool coat and they're walking with the shine shoes. And I tell them, men used to dress up for dinner.
Yes.
You come home, you put on a fresh
shirt. And I agree with that. As a woman, I actually do find it sexy when a man smells good. He takes care of himself and he makes an effort because, when you ring up and you speak to someone, you want to see them looking good, right? Oh, yeah. And the thing is, Michael, a deep relationship is really only possible when we're willing to be vulnerable.
That's it. You got to be willing to give part of yourself to the other person.
If we're not willing
talking about the smelling good, I would recommend it.
What is that?
Intisio, it is Doge Gavanti or something. I can't pronounce his last name.
Ah. And
Uh,
also, I mean, if you think about porn, like, because a lot of people, they're drawn to porn and watch it, and there's nothing wrong with it if that's your bag, and if it works for you, absolutely do it. But I actually think that when you watch porn, it's not about emotional connection.
no,
I don't think there's anything intimate about it. And it's actually kind of a little bit self-focused and quite selfish, because it's about what you want to watch. It's completely different. And I know some people want to bring porn into a loving relationship. And if your partner's not into that, it's not going to work. It's like, darling, by the way, I love you completely, but I just wondered if we could watch this movie.
I
It's
didn't know if you was talking about watching porn or making porn. There is a
watching,
difference. Yeah.
or,
Oh,
or both, I
yeah.
guess, or
I
both.
guess if you watch enough, you think, well, shit, I'm a better porn star than that guy. I can put on a better show than that. It's like you said on the first date. I don't think, which that's not my bag.
No, it
I'd
was
say,
it was
no,
one of the
and
joy.
if it's some woman that comes at me and says, "Hey, Michael, guess what we're doing?" I'd be like, "No, we're fighting. No, no, that's what we're doing. No, that
Yeah,
ain't gonna happen." Uh, but like I said, they have killed, and people have got so, people are so used to being behind a keyboard
I
or
do.
on the internet, and when
Yeah,
they get face to face, they're like,
sure.
"What?" He's like, Wendy's like, "What do you like? I want you to bend me over and peg me." And that wouldn't that would, unless you're a woman who's like, that's what I really wanted, was a man that says, "This is what I'm looking for from my woman." I'm not that guy. I'd be like,
Well, I mean,
"Whoa," I'd be like, "Well, I'm out."
Val, Val comes up with a good point when she says the bad thing about porn is when they would rather watch that than instead of come to bed with their partner. But I think we're talking about sexual healing here, and about, when you're in a relationship and you love someone, when your life, I want to look at sex as being a life force. When that life force is flowing freely between you, and it's good and it's productive and it's positive, and you're both enjoying it and you're both feeling that power, the body
Yeah.
becomes very attuned to each other, and everything starts to channel and flow.
Mhm.
And also, from a health point of view, I wanted to bring up some of the stuff it does, because it's very good for your heart. Now, you wouldn't think that, would you? Because if you've got a heart problem, you think the
Yeah.
last thing you'd want to do, but it is very good for your
Corey,
heart.
you know, what is the running joke when it said, a good lovemaking session can burn as much calories as a 5 mile run?
Yeah.
And the old woman looked at the old man and said, "When's the last time you run 5 miles in 2 minutes?" And I'm like, okay. And but no,
Yeah,
I was going
Val
to
brings
ask you,
just bringing up that point from Val. She says
heart,
actually
yeah,
heartbeats align. Yes, they can do. Yes, they
if
can.
if you're doing
But
it
it is a
right.
good form of exercise. It's a good form of exercise. And also it can help you sleep better. Now, I agree. There have been moments in my life where I literally, it has put me to sleep, not during it, but actually afterwards, because all the good endorphins are going,
I
right?
was going to say I've never bored a woman so bad that she fell asleep in bed.
Because
You,
after
you want to talk
sex,
about an ego killer? We was talking about ego earlier and pumping up egos. You want to talk about if you're sitting there having intercourse, I'm trying to be really really polite and
yeah,
from a genteel thing. But if you're sitting there bringing your best A game and you look down and a woman's going, you're like,
yeah.
damn, you're talking about an ego killer, and I'm like, no.
But I also think your immune, it can literally, I want to go through this, is like your immune system. It can help boost your immune system. It can increase the production of antibodies, like immunoglobulin A, and isn't what else is it here? Also helps you fight germs. There you go. The immune system also benefits from proper sleep, and since sex is linked to better sleep, regular sex can be better for the immune system. It also regulates your hormones, and it can increase the levels of endorphins and oxytocin. Oxytocin is called the love hormone. It's what we feel when we're falling in love with someone. It's what we feel when we're with someone. We're like, oh my God, I walked
Yeah.
into the room, and it's that oxytocin we're feeling.
It's when you can't get enough of them, and they make you like stutter, and your heart
That's
skips a
right.
beat. And I just saw Barb comment down there says, "Oh my God, porn!" I remember when I watched Hit by Accident.
Yeah.
I've never watched porn by accident. I've always said, "Oh, how did that get on there?" But it was never by accident.
Well, oxytocin is released after sex, after orgasm, and helps reduce stress and anxiety. And I also think when you've had an orgasm, Michael, you probably agree with me. But when you've had an orgasm with someone, there's a bond there. If you're in that intimate, special relationship, there's that closeness, that bond that I don't think you have when you're just with someone and you have an orgasm and you're like, yeah, thanks, or you know what I mean? There's a very different connection.
I don't know anymore. I've seen these things where the guys said after they get done, it's like, "Hey," I said, "let's play airport." That's what you mean. She said, "Fly the fuck out of here." It's like, psh. But people
Yeah.
has disconnected so much that
They have.
used to, you had sex, you cuddled, you cried, you talked about your day. Anymore, it's like, wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. I got you an Uber. And I think that's what has happened to a lot of the relationships in this
Well,
country.
the thing is, you can get a relationship so easy on the internet now. You can just
Yeah,
swipe.
that's
If
it.
someone upsets you or lets you down, you can just swipe, and the next thing you know,
Yeah,
you're
that's
there.
it. And it's
Um,
so easy to block and not respond or whatever. It's like, oh, I went on a date. This person sucked. Just put the X on them. And
but I
it's so
also think when you're in a relationship with someone that you feel really happy with, right?
yeah,
Um, Also, you don't eat as much because you've got
no,
that love hormone going on. You're not eating much. You start to lose weight. Your depression level can goes down. Can go down. It improves confidence and self-esteem. And
yeah,
endorphins are actually natural painkillers as well. Apparently, they mimic the effects of morphine, which is obviously an opium painkiller. And for a guy, it can really improve your prostate health. As you know, if it flushes out all the toxins from the prostate. So there is evidence here that having sex regularly is really good. It's really good for you. It's healing.
remember that, women. You can save your husband's life by having sex. Prostate cancer is a killer. Uh, Wendy said that.
Oh my God, that's so funny.
It's medically proven.
No, but
They've
it's
done
it's true. I mean, the thing is, like as I said, it's been a while, but I remember going back to
that.
the dim dark past of having those moments, being so connected with someone, and actually feeling so well and so happy and so like my body had a boost, as you say, of endorphins.
Like a
So,
B12 shot. It's like somebody had give you a B12 shot of happiness.
but
And
then I want to bring in for women, because then comes along something terrible. Like you spend half your life trying not to get pregnant. Then you spend most of your life after that trying to get pregnant. And then after all of that, because God has a really big sense of humor, he gives you the menopause.
you know,
And your body goes down a completely different road now.
but
Because
that's like we
then,
said the other day. Some women, sands of the Sahara, and other women,
yeah,
the best sex of their life. No consequences except for like STDs. You know what I'm saying? No chance of pregnancy. They can do all the things
yeah.
that was off the board when they could get pregnant or whatever. And I have heard both. And everybody's like, "What do I do?" I'm like, "I don't know. There's not one tool in the toolbox that fixes all of it. I wish there was, but there's not.
It's
There's
easy, it's interesting when you talk to a doctor and you say, well, look, I'm going through all these problems. What can you do for me? And they're like, well, you can take some hormones, you can, have a patch put on, you
yeah,
can checking where my dog is. You can have all this kind of pessaries or creams, and some people it agrees with, and some people it doesn't. But as you say, Michael, some people are really lucky; they fly through menopause and they have
yeah,
no problem whatsoever.
yeah. What was it? The show that we did that you can watch, link in bio.
couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, Getting Frisky at 50, one of the best shows that we've had. So, and then I see these like old folks retirement places in Florida. They got the different foofas that they put on their golf cart to tell people what they're into. And they're in their 80s. I'm thinking, I don't know what their secret is, but whatever it is, it must be working. So, but I was going to ask you. I know you see a lot of older men. When I say young women, I'm talking about of
Mm.
age women, of course. And it seemed like they got an extra kick in their step. They're acting more young, they're more fertile or whatever. And I used to think, which I was married to a younger woman, I've always been unhinged off the rails, so I didn't think there was a difference. But do you think that an older man with a younger woman, or an older woman with a younger man, while you're intimate, do you think that you're taking some of that youthful energy away from your partner, and using it for yourself? Are you taking part of the life force from the person during sex
Fine.
and bringing it over? Because I know my mom used to talk about some people could walk into the room and just take all the positive energy out of the room. She called them psychic vampires. So if somebody could walk into the room and take your energy just by being in the room and being negative, if you're that intimate and you're physically connected, plugged in,
Sure.
it looked like you could almost be sharing that person's youthful energy or
That's a good
whatever.
that's a good point, isn't it? Because like they have although some younger people can have an older energy and some older people can have a younger energy, but
Yeah.
I think you're right. I mean, when you're sharing your body, the life force with someone, and sex is a life force. Like people have forgotten how powerful sex is, and it's not just about the action; it's about the connection. And the fact is, when you join with somebody, like the powerful things you can achieve together, right? You can
Yeah.
achieve.
Because you used to talk about Crowley or Alistair, and they used to call it sex magic.
Mm.
And it is like the magic of sex. And I see Val, she said she think to do with like self esteem. If you're with somebody young, hot, attractive, it's going to boost you up. You're going to be, I always tell them it's almost like a roller coaster. You go manic, whatever. And it's like you just ride the wave of endorphins and all the
Yeah.
hormones in your body. So I could see the self esteem part too. She says when someone younger is attractive, it boosts your ego. Yeah, ego. Yeah, ego boosters are always good. Sometimes you got to get that pat on the back. Say, look at me. You
But
go, boy.
I got an interesting thing here that I want to talk about, because if you're not in a relationship and you don't want to just have sex with anyone willy-nilly, pardon the pun, you want to have a private, and you don't want to go to someone like an escort or someone who does this obviously for a living, but you want to actually have that connection. A lot of people go and see a sexual healer, and I never realized. I mean, I heard of tantric healer and everything, but this actual sexual healer people go to see, and I found a study that I was looking at. I wanted to share about sexual healing, but I knew somebody that used to, and he would go on their birthday, but they would go and have a massage with obviously more to it.
Mm.
And I said, how did that make you feel? And they said, it was just a release. It was this wonderful release of but there was a connection, but not a connection. And it was completely different. And I was like, wow. So, but they did tantric, and obviously tantric is something that is very powerful if you get a chance to
Oh,
do
so
it.
so this is what all the Asian day spas are doing. Okay.
Well, potentially, I think there's some
Yeah.
there that do. But also,
Okay.
what I was reading about a sexual healer is someone who facilitates the release of stored trauma. I didn't know that. They release trauma from the body, stagnated energy and emotional pain related to sexuality through intentional practices that harness healing energy and address both the body and mind. So you go and see someone and say, look, I've got these issues, or I need to do this, and they will help you release them. They work with the intricacies of the human psyche, the nervous system, and the subtle energies of the body, aiming to restore a healthy relationship between your sexual energy, which I don't think we actually look at as a being of its own kind. Our sexual energy is actually our own.
It's all part of you. It's all part of your chakra or whatever.
It's
But you
part
think,
of our psyche. Yeah.
you remember back, they used to say, if your wife has hysteria, you bring her to the doctor, and the doctor will manually stimulate your wife so she calms the hell down.
Well, that's what they used to do with
And,
postnatal depression and a lot of
and you know,
violence.
and you basically, you know, and they trained your PA or whatever to manually stimulate your wife, and they said that's even where some of your, I'm trying to think of a polite
Val
for
said
butt
they would
plug.
be traumatized if she went, which is kind of funny. But this is not about sexual pleasure. This is about addressing deep-seated wounds that manifest as numbness, shame, or a disconnect from mind and body. Because if you've not had sex for years, if you feel completely dead from the waist down and you're not in a relationship and you're like, I don't feel feminine, I don't feel masculine, I don't feel attractive, I don't feel sexy, where do you go to talk to someone? You go to the doctor, and the doctor just pretty much lets it, they don't really often do anything. Go and see a counselor. You know, at the same time, you're back into it. So these sexual healers, as I've been reading about, they create a safe environment where you can confront your sexual fears, unpack past experiences, and move beyond trauma. And it's through talk therapy, guided body work. Maybe you don't want to touch your body. Maybe you haven't touched your body for so long that you can't touch your body because maybe something's happened to you, and you cannot look at your body as a sexual thing because of the trauma. You know, especially if you've been assaulted or something, you know, has happened, you don't see your body anymore because you've put that shield over it, as in,
I,
you
some
know.
of that I looked at, if women was uncomfortable in their body, you know, they all brought them, sit them down, like I always called it, a prayer circle, and they all sat around on these chairs. They took off their knickers and they give them a mirror. Look at yourself.
Yeah.
And I thought, boy, you know, you go into AA and you walk into that meeting, it's like, huh, where do I get the mirror? But like I said, I get it. And just when you're talking about PSAs, she has not sent me how I can apply for that job, because I think that's a job I'd be good at.
Yeah.
But because I have people ask me all the time, hey, Michael, talk to my husband. He's not doing this. I'm like, you know, what am I going to say to him? Go do your wife. You know,
Well, that's where you're
I'm like,
counseling. You were doing your counseling.
yeah, and I'm like, yeah, and it's hard. And I tell him, I said, it's very easy for me to get in front of the camera here and talk because there's no real world consequences if I screw it up. But when you have people that you're close with, you know, in your life that you see more than once in a week, it's like, hey, you need to go talk to, oh boy, you know, he's not upholding his end of the marriage. Talk to him like a man. I'm thinking, you know, either he could be receptive or he could want to throw hands. And
I actually went to see a sexual health counselor some years ago with somebody who I loved very much. And we'd been together. Our relationship ended. It was a lot of trauma. And then some years down the line, we got back together. And it was like we couldn't get over the trauma we wanted to. It was stopping us getting physically close. It was stopping us being vulnerable with each other. And it was breaking both our hearts at the time, because it was like, I want to do this, but it just doesn't feel right.
because you was too guarded. You was too guarded.
Because
Your walls would not come
we
down.
weren't vulnerable with each other. And so I went to see this amazing lady, and it's amazing what comes out when you go there. And being a counselor myself, you know, it never fails to surprise me. But all of a sudden, all this stuff starts to pour out of you, and you realize why you're not getting intimate, you're not being vulnerable, because you have all this stuff you're holding on to, which can almost give you that cancerous, because you're holding on to all this toxic energy.
I think a lot of times that is what makes people sick, is because they hang on to all this
100%.
negative inside, and it just
100%.
eats them out from the
I
inside.
think as when you're together, it's nothing worse than lying in bed with someone or being intimate with someone. And I had it in my marriage as well, but there's issues and you can't get over them, and you feel like a freak, or you feel like unfeminine. What's wrong with me? Why
Yeah.
don't you want me? Excuse me. Why don't you want to make sex? Why don't we do sex? Why don't you make love to me? Why don't you want me? Why don't you
Yeah.
want, am I not sexy? And all these things go through your head. And then you go to one of these sessions and you sit down and you listen and you go, now I know why we're not being intimate, because you are holding on to so much trauma or so much resentment or so much anger towards me. And the fact is, we weren't having a terrible relationship. We weren't screaming at each other. We weren't arguing with each other. It was just like, we both wanted to get over this, but we couldn't. So unfortunately, that we didn't go back, because they decided they didn't want to do it. And sadly, our relationship ended some time after that, which really upset me, because I had hopes it would go down another road. And I want to give an example of this sexual healer. And she says, a man came to me for holistic healing. He'd had severe acne all over his body, and he felt disgusted about himself and was not able to find a girlfriend or be intimate. When we started to talk, it turned out that as a child, he'd been sent to a Catholic boarding school. You know where this is going. The head priest sexually abused him at regular intervals. And when he raised this subject fearfully with his mother, she interrupted him and said, well, the priest knows best. Just do whatever he tells you. This journey was focused on healing sexual trauma, which had deeply affected his sense of self and ability to form intimate relationships.
While you're reading that, I'll be right back.
Yeah. And so this young guy started a healing journey, because he had to look inside his own body and learn to tap into himself and realize that actually he wasn't to blame. Everyone, no matter what the issue, has a healing source within themselves. They can actually heal themselves. Imagination is the door to intuition, and to allowing your imagination to play an important role. So it's actually seeing yourself better, seeing yourself, because it's almost like that law of attraction, isn't it? If you feel it, you see it, you say it, you're going to bring that energy into your life. And also, whoever or whatever the client meets during this journey is there to help them and be part of the healing source. So this sexual abuse trauma, he'd never even looked down at his body. He'd never even looked. I mean, obviously weed and etc., but he never looked down there, because it was like, it is not sexual. It is something that is not sexual at all. And also he found himself that he would have this recurring nightmare. He was in a cave. He had lots of snakes coming at him. He was terrified. And it's really interesting how, when you read his story, she puts him through almost like a visualization, almost like, take him through a meditation where it's okay to ask, himself questions, or to look at the vipers and to see what they're trying to tell you. And this is what I'm trying to say, is so many of us have trauma, and we go inside ourselves and we can't allow that to come out. And the thing is, if we don't heal it, if we don't ask for help, if we don't recognize that we have a problem because we were sexually rejected, sexually abused, or sexually not open for many years because menopause or whatever, your sex drive was down, low testosterone for a guy. It's really hard, Michael, to look at your body and go, yeah, but I feel sexy. Because when someone tries to make an advance to you and you don't feel that way, you're like, get off. It really is traumatizing.
It's like putting a brace on the train. It's like, no. And even your body changes with age. I just turned 53. All of this used to be up here. obviously, I'm 6'3", 202 pounds. Look at this, you get out of the shower and you're sitting there drying off. You're like, oh, I do me.
Yeah.
It's like, cool. Then now you get out and you're like, oh Lord, got the little roll in the front. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, and it does, and it plays on your mind. I know it does
Yeah.
on men because you're used to having 6 pack abs, big biceps. Then now you get out and you're looking, you're like, I'm a chubby old fat man. I'm like, and it's far from it because I'm not. But that's why I tell them, I'm like, look at this. They're like, oh, you need more weight. I'm like, no, this needs to go back to where it was. And it does. It plays on you, on your
And
psyche.
I think our generation, certainly I didn't go to a Catholic school, but I know people that did, and they were actually taught that the body, to not look at their body as a sexual thing.
Oh, no.
It was, and I think a lot of people don't realize that this, Tantra is often misunderstood for exotic sexual practices, but actually its roots stretch back over 1,000 years, with its origins deeply in Indian spiritual traditions.
The Kama Sutra.
And to consider the body, they consider the body a sacred vessel, which one can experience the divine. I think that's a beautiful thing. You're a sacred vessel from which you can experience the divine.
They always said, ecstasy is your soul leaving the body and being close to God. And I first read that in the Kama Sutra, and everybody's like, "Oh, that's weird." I said, "That's the reason I always said, outer body experience. If you're really to that point where you lose yourself with somebody else, it's something a lot of people never get to experience. Where all your cures are gone, you don't care, you don't have a comet, it's the earth, the dinosaurs come back, you don't care if the neighborhood's burning down.
Mm-hmm.
You're just in the zone, you're in your own world with that person. It's like everything else is gone. And a lot of people don't get to experience that.
No.
And
I think that we're not taught that our bodies are sacred vessels. I don't think we're taught it. I don't think we look at it. And I think that you are powerful being. We are all powerful beings if we tap into that energy.
Yeah.
We obviously have to think it and we have to feel it. And I think what Tantra tries to do using this and with the sexual healing practitioners is to get you to look at yourself as a powerful vessel. And to look at your traumas. Where are they coming from? Who put them there? What began them? And it's really angers me that, an innocent child starting from such a young age can have all these things put into their head, completely screw them up, and they can go one way or the other. But I think for me, all of us have had, I'm sure there's many of us have had stuff happen. I myself have had stuff happen to me when I was younger. It's certainly it's when it happened to me, it was traumatizing, and I didn't really know.
No.
I was quite young, what was going on. And I look back and I think I felt sick anytime a guy came near me. Anytime a guy talked to me, I felt really, really sick and ill. And it affected me. And I think that because I came from a generation where we didn't talk about sex, you didn't, verbalize everything that was going on. And then because when I went into later in life, an abusive relationship, sex became like, it wasn't sacred anymore. It was something that, it was like I gave part of my soul away. And it gave, they took part of my soul and I never got it back. It took me years to get it back. And I'm sure there's quite a few people, especially some ladies, that will really understand what I mean by that. Because, soulless sex, and I say this, soulless sex for me personally does nothing for me.
And there's a lot of women that they figured it was their marital duties. No enthusiasm. Here I am, get it done, go on. I got shit to do. And I have seen relationships like that. And I'm like, that is not. From a guy's perspective, if a woman's just like, here it is, get your needs done. You know what I'm saying? And they're not an active participant. there was a term that we had in the army. We always called them a dead fish because they just lay there. And nobody wants that kind of relationship for man or woman. You know, if you're a woman and the guy's just laying there like he's a fucking mannequin with a wooden willy, you know, and he's not interacting with you, it screws with your, like you said, your sexual health because your ego, your mind, your body is like, if I'm doing all of this, why aren't they responding? And that's what I always said, back to communication is key. Communicate to your partner what feels good. What do you like? What is off limits? What is not off limits? And you figure out what you're on. But I wouldn't, like I said, I would not recommend dropping some of your weird kinks on the first day because a lot of people might go haul an ass, or you might have to do the Heimlich and then choke them. So, but like I said, that's what I mean. It's like nobody wants somebody that's just there because they have to. That's very cruel to the person that they're like, well, you got 5 minutes, get it done.
It's interesting, up until tonight, I hadn't remembered going to that sexual health counselor, and it makes me feel so sad that I even had to do that because
I don't know if we have one in the United States here.
When we were first together in the first part of our relationship, like the first time we dated, there was a major connection, and it was stunted. I lost a baby. Their mum died, and it changed our relationship. And then I ended up, and it's something I've talked about before. I ended up dating a friend of his. Probably not my best move, and God did I pay for it. But we live and learn. And then we got back together again, and it was just something was, there was this whole thing between us. And I look back and it makes me feel so sad because when you meet someone and you have a really good connection, you should, like we did the first time round, and unfortunately things happened that broke it and changed it. And I think I didn't realize how much I had carried the guilt and the worry and so much of like, I'm a terrible person. What have I done? How can I carried all this guilt over, and I didn't realize it until just now. And I'm sitting here talking about it. It's been quite a revelation to me because looking back, now I'm a very different person, but even then, I mean, we're talking, how many years ago is this now? 2017, so almost 10 years ago. And what the counselor we went to see, she was trying to get us to open up, to release all this feelings of trauma, anger and resentment. And one of us was prepared to, but the other one was like, I don't want to. I don't want to I don't want to go where that's going to take me, because if I go down there, I'm not going to want to talk to you. I'm not going to want to see you. But how can you build from that? How can you move on unless you talk about your problems? We all make mistakes. We all fuck up. We're all human. But if we don't actually face our demons, which I have done and will do again, then we don't actually listen. And I think with a sexual healer, when people go to see a sexual healer, it helps you reconnect, or a counselor. It helps you reconnect with your person, with yourself, with your body, and releasing trauma, shame. And that's the one thing I had was shame. I felt so ashamed of myself that I had, and yet there were, obviously I'm not going into the details here, but there were a lot of things that caused that to happen, cause and effect. And it's like, I look back now and I realize I carried so much guilt, so much shame, so much like I'm a terrible person, that I think it made me physically ill. And I kept everything, down. And I think it really made me ill. And I still think now, I've gone through a lot of trauma in the last few years. And I don't think I've done my body any favors. I feel like Val was saying, and Colleen and everything, I feel absolutely dead from the waist down, because you just, it kills you. When you go through all that trauma, you literally just think to yourself, I don't feel like me anymore. I was saying to Scotty the other day, I want to feel alive. I haven't felt alive in a very long time. And I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that actually know what I'm talking about feeling alive in themselves. And I think through the greatest relationship Michael will ever have is the one we have with ourselves.
That's it.
And if you don't love yourself, if you don't listen to what Michael's thinking, what Wendy's thinking, what Wendy wants, and you don't actually tap into that, you are doing yourself a disservice.
That's it. I said, before anybody else can love you, you got to love yourself. And I got to fix my thing. I apologize. I am getting so used to this external webcam thing that I'm not quite used to.
I just got to mute your mic because you're all over there, and wait to your back. But I'm sure looking at some of the comments in here that people understand exactly where I'm coming from here. And as Val says, there is so much more to sex than just the act. It starts way before you hit the bedroom. Let's just take Michael out there for a minute. And I really think, like as Val says, when we look back, I don't think any of us see ourselves as a sacred vessel. We don't see ourselves as a, this is my body I'm giving you. This is, and I really think we should, especially as women. I think as women, we should see ourselves that the fact that, it's a very special thing. And we should, and with guys too. Let's bring Michael back. How you doing? Is that better? No, he's still out of it. Let me see what some of the comments says here. Someone says, ask Scotty. What am I asking Scotty from there, Steve? Let's have a look what else we've got here. So some people don't go for help. Yes, and some people don't even know they need help. Some people don't even accept that they need help. And I look back and I think we had a wonderful opportunity to get together and to finish or to build something else amazing, because not many people get the chance to get back together and conclude or make something very special. And we had that opportunity, and because there was so much trauma and anger and resentment, we lost out on something very, very special. So I hope this makes people can relate to this. Michael is still trying to sort this out, bless him. But obviously, sexual healing is really, really important. It can relieve a lot of stress and anxiety. That's very true. I've been in a relationship myself, and you think, God, I could really do with that bit of a release to actually help me. And it's just, and you don't always want to get your flexible friend out. You actually do want to feel that connection with someone as well. Charlie says, I think I need counseling. I have felt dead from the waist down for a while. Welcome to the club, sister. And I also think that's also our age and our hormones and menopause that really does affect it. But if you've gone through trauma and a really bad relationship, etc., that will do it. I don't know where Scotty was, because he was here just now and he's not. So if he was, I don't know if he's still in the comments, whatever, but he's gone. Michael says, I think I got it. He's just disappeared. So while we're waiting, I hope this has been a really interesting show. I hope you're all getting something from there. I just saw this comment up here that I just wanted to bring up. I think it was from Val. She says, oxytocin is great until they give you a shot of it in the labor room. I wouldn't know, Val. But how did it make you feel? I'm really glad. And it was so nice to meet Steve. I'm just going to message Scotty because he was waiting. So let's do that while I'm waiting here. Charlie, what do you think's began you feeling dead? Do you think it was hormonal? Do you think it was trauma? Which one do you think it was? I'm just sending him a Scotty a message just in case. He might have gone for a bit of a sleep. What do we got here? Val says, I look at myself and think back to my 20s. It's stupid because, of course, I had apps back then, but that was before 2 babies and menopause. But in our head, Val, Are we still feeling that way? Oxytocin makes contractions 1,000. Really? I didn't know that. I'm just sending Scotty a message, so we've got that. Okay, so I mean, while Michael's disappearing, and if Scotty doesn't come on, actually, if I think Scotty might come on in a sec, but I just want to finish this. I'm going to talk about a couple of shows coming up in the next couple of weeks, and hopefully Val will be back on board. But as I said, she's taking a little bit of a sabbatical. We have the lovely Mark English, who's going to be with us on the 1st of February. And he's going to be bringing a touch of the paranormal. So I really, really think that would be a good show. So I would ask everyone to look out and like it and put a notification on so you know that it's happening. And then next week, we have another Wicked Women. We'll be here at 9 o'clock. And I haven't put the title up for that one, but you'll find out about it soon. Charlie says, definitely a mixture. I had an abusive childhood from my mum's drug abusive partner, but also later on in life, things that have happened. I get it. I totally get it. And it's almost like you become a third person, don't you? It's like that there's that whole hidden side to you that you keep inside, you keep protected, and you can't give it to someone else because that's the vulnerable part of you, and that will affect all your relationships as well. I think Michael's back now.
I'm sorry, love. I kicked the shit out of the Cordis on the iPhone, which I set it up for a better picture. I'm getting used to my new surroundings. I'm like a toddler in my domain. And I went to cross my legs to get, because of the back, and next thing I know, it went. Then it froze. So then I had to come plumb out of StreamYard. I had to reset the phone. Had to reset, the camera app to get it to. I'm like, I'm glad she can talk because right now I am screwing the pooch. And I'm like, Jesus Christ. But it's a better picture, but it's going to take a little. But it's going, it's going to take a little time to get everything set up and get used to the whole new.
Well, we're glad you're back, because I was just talking to Charlie, and Charlie just says it guarded her so much. She's scared of giving all of me. She's frightened she'll lose herself entirely. I totally get where you're coming from. If you're not vulnerable with a partner, it will affect the relationship, because are you being absolutely, totally honest with them and you? But I know I speak from experience. Do I give 100% of myself now? Probably not.
No. Steve Estebury, question. He's like, how did you meet Wendy? When I first met Wendy, she told me, you get a line, I start building brick by brick by brick, and the wall goes up. And I have seen a lot more people, and I think that is very common for people anymore. They get so guarded and so reclused back into themselves. And if somebody steps out of line just a little bit, brick by brick by brick, and a lot of times you get so jaded or whatever when it comes to relationships or just friendships, romantic relationships, or just whatever. And it's like, nope, not going to participate. And it kind of reminds me of them things like you see people pull down in front of the shops. Nope, close for business.
The shutters go down.
Yeah, either see them take the gate across or you roll it down. It's like, nope, close for business. What it's like.
My best friend used to say to me, I can, and she used to say to me, I can hear your wall.
Yeah.
It just went up. And it's weird. I dated a guy once, lovely guy, and he actually said to me, my God, I just heard all the bricks go up in your wall. It was like, and I said to him, really? Yep. He said, oh, I saw it and I heard it and I absolutely felt it. And I thought to myself, wow, Charlie says I don't give 100% because I have had things said that knock me so much. I feel like I need to protect myself, even when I know deep down, I know being the mother of his kids, he will always protect me, but I feel that's the only reason. And I think we waste, and I mean this kindly because I've done it myself. When we've got children with someone or we're married, we waste so much time with the wrong person.
Yeah.
We're staying with them for whatever reason. And the more we stay within a toxic relationship or a relationship that does not fulfill us, not complete us, but fulfill us, we lose chips away of our soul. It chips away at our soul until in the end we become this jaded person, as in I've got nothing else left to give. I've only got about this much left I can share with you.
But that goes back into the communication. If you're giving 100% the whole time and they're not giving nothing, and you just give and give, you eventually give out. The well runneth dry. And I have seen that happen a lot. Oh, hell, they'll be around forever. Oh, they ain't going to do no better. Oh, they got the perfect thing right here with me. What the fuck's she going to do? Who's going to want her? She's, and, there's somebody that's, probably thinks, what do they always say? Somebody, one man's trash or one woman's trash is another person's treasure.
That's true.
And you go back and you look and they're like, oh, no. Don't ever go nowhere.
And I also think as well that we also don't think we're good enough. I mean, that's the other thing that comes across, and that's why we need to heal ourselves. Why is it we don't think we're good enough? I remember when I was married, I always thought, like, why is he with me? Why is he with me? He can get anyone he wants. Why is he with me? I had such low self-esteem and confidence because now I'm a different girl. But there are moments that I can go back. I don't know about you, Michael, but can you go back in your memory and past and you can still feel what you were like at that time?
Yeah. A lot of it was not the confident guy that you see now. And I've been told, boy, did you marry beneath you. But, but at the time that I thought, this is what you was meant to do. You shopped around, you found the best you could. You put a kid in it, you put a ring on it, you know what I'm saying? And it's like, and you just suffered going to work. I still saying 9 to 5 till you die. But I figured out there's much more to life than that.
As Val says, it hits differently when the one you are with tells you nobody will want you if you leave them. Scotty, hello, my lovely.
Hi, Wendy. My internet wifey.
My internet husband.
My podcasting wifey. There we go.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was here for a while waiting and I had to step away for something. And I'm back now, so I've missed everything for like the last half hour.
And may our marriage last a long time.
Oh, yes, may it.
It's already lasted 20 years.
Well, I'm committed.
Yes.
Well, I'm glad Scotty missed the whole thing with me kicking the camera off and it goes flying through the room.
We were talking about sexual healing. That's been the subject today, about how, and it brought up memories in me, Scotty, that I had, and I think you probably were aware of the time when I was dating someone and we had dated, and then I lost a baby, his mum died, and then I ended up dating his friend, and then I dated her, and we got back together again, and we went to see a counselor to help us. And I have to say, if you don't release all that trauma and if you don't release all that anger and resentment, it really will fuck up your life, especially your intimacy.
Yeah, I agree. The one thing I was going to say back when I heard what was being said, I am and if this starts to tie into where we are or where you are, I am a very tactile person. My needs when it comes to love are not, hey, let's fuck on the countertop all the time. It's touchy-feely. I'm a very touchy-feely person. I will walk by and run my finger along the shoulder or poke the butt. Not grab it, but all those kinds of things are the way I show affection. They weren't always reciprocated. And it bothered me because we had two different love languages, if you will, going on at the same time.
Yeah.
And obviously problems building toward the end. And so, and I think, you tell me if this is way off topic, but I think that there are things that women need, there are things that men need. We all know that already.
Yeah.
But if either of those are not met, the relationship starts to really suffer as a result of it.
It's a
it might not be the main cause of splitting up, but it might be a huge factor that's factored into split ups. For men, many times for men, it's like, it's not like duty bound to give me sex and touchy-feeliness. But if it's absent, What happens to a guy? A guy is like, that wears on him after a while. I can only speak to this from a male perspective.
Yeah.
That wears on you. And it wears you down. It says, why am I working so hard, giving my life to make this thing work on a logistical level? Money coming in the door, paying the bills, running things, making sure things work. But there's not that reciprocation of, honey, come here, let's cuddle, let's have sex, let's do this, whatever. And it's not where I say it's not duty bound. Aren't there times that we all do things that we wouldn't do or don't feel like doing when it comes to sexuality because we want to honor the other person? We want the other person to be felt and loved and cared for. And when I know, especially from a male perspective, if a man doesn't get that from his wife, there's probably underlying reasons that could be from good to bad. But the guy ends up in those kinds of situations going, what did I do wrong? What am I doing wrong? And we start to blame ourselves. And you know what? Not that we are that fragile, but it starts to affect the way we work. It starts to affect the way we do things. It starts to affect the way we talk to each other. It could be a scenario as simple as, yeah, honey, I know you're telling me to do that, but I also haven't had sex in 4 months or whatever it might be. Plug in your own time period and say, and that sounds so selfish until you say, isn't that part of what people who love each other and care about each other do? And when it comes to sexuality, we have our ways of expressing it. For me, I don't think I was ever overboard with anything. But it was the omissions, the acts of omission that are some of the biggest problems in marriage. And it seems nowadays that all of our society nowadays, social media and everything else is all geared to, if a woman's got to leave, it's because the guy did something wrong. Yeah. Well, that's from that perspective. That's a one-sided perspective. Maybe the things that were perceived as wrongdoings in the man find their roots in the way they communicate with each other, verbally, sexually, and every other way.
So,
and
Scotty,
those all have an effect on a man. A man loses his self-worth if his wife doesn't crave him in some respect.
Coming out from where you are, because
track it all there.
we're talking about healing, and it's like, for me, I was in a relationship with someone I loved. I knew, it was a newer relationship, even though it was the second time around. If you were to get involved in a relationship, and you have all this trauma and rejection and anger and etc. that we all have at a time in our lives. And in a relationship, and rejection is the worst thing to happen because it can really play with your head so much. And it's like, how would you deal with that in a new relationship moving on? What do you think the tools that you would use? Well,
first of all, for me personally, I will always be the same person I've always been. But the baggage that starts to attach itself to you, a male or a female, is baggage you bring in to the new relationship. So it might be where, let's say, this is a hypothetical. Let's say the guy is touchy-feely, the wife doesn't respond. You get into a new relationship down the road, and all of a sudden you're going to do the touchy-feely and go, maybe I shouldn't do that. Yeah. Because that's going to, and the woman's thinking, well, why isn't he touchy-feely with me? So those are baggages that we carry along, and half the time,
emotional trauma.
It's emotional trauma, and people jump into things so fast after a relationship breaks that there's no time to process any of that stuff. And processing, I'm a guy. I think I can process things pretty quickly. Oh, okay, I know what that is. I can apply logic to it, but logic doesn't always take away buried guilt or buried shame or buried hurt or buried whatever. It doesn't mean you don't want to move on to that new person. It could mean I was so bombarded with this over here, it's having an effect on me over here now.
Mhm.
And you sometimes don't realize because it becomes ingrained behavior. And so anybody who genuinely falls in love with somebody else who's come out of something like that, you better damn well be patient with them, because they're going to exhibit behaviors that are rooted in the old. Because you know what? I'm sorry, human beings, I think, are made to mate forever. That is my personal philosophy on it. And when that breaks down and you end up finding somebody else, half the time you're stuck, not because you don't want the new, but you're stuck because of what happened in the old.
But I think also if you've had it for so many years, it becomes learned behavior, and
Yes.
it becomes what you're used to. And we were talking earlier on, Scotty, which is what you missed, was that sex has a life force of its own, its
Yes.
own energy. And we don't see our bodies as very special vessels. We don't look at ourselves as being, we need to love our body and to look at ourselves and go, you know what, I am this wonderful vessel. And it is, you know, we talk about using sex as a life force, as in the fact that you can feel it, you can touch it, you can, you know, it can consume you. And two people together in that moment can build to such an amazing energy. And what we're looking at is with sexual healing is all the good things about that sex can heal. You know, it can make you have a good night's sleep. It gets good endorphins, oxytocin, lowers risk of prostate cancer. It can help with depression, with anxiety, but also if you have come from somewhere with trauma, regardless of what that trauma is, it's going to take you a little while to just go,
You know
here we go.
How I'm trying to not personalize it. Some of this is me and my situation. Some of it is knowing how this stuff works to a certain extent. Sometimes all it takes for a guy is for his wife, his woman, to
Partner.
hold him sometimes, to
Yeah.
cuddle with your man, make your man feel wanted.
Yeah.
Sometimes guys, I heard,
women.
I brought this up before, the comedian Dave Chappelle, I think it was, and he was talking about everybody loves everybody in my family, but the only person whose love is contingent upon his performance is the man.
Yeah.
Because if the man screws up somewhere in his finances or loses his job or this or that, it's like performance-based affection. You'll get affection from me if you're getting the bills paid, and if
Bigger
you can't
house,
get the bills
nicer
paid
car.
for whatever it is, it'd sure be nice. Sometimes, you know what heals that? Is the woman just hugging her man and meaning it.
True.
And the man, do you know that that's sometimes all it takes for a man to get out of certain things that he feels are holding him up? Is his wife showing physically that she loves him? That doesn't always mean intercourse, although it can mean that. Sometimes it just means
That's what I said here a while back. Men are very simple creatures. You
Yeah.
pat him on the head. You say, "Good job, good boy." You rub their belly in the right spot, and he will build you a fucking mansion.
pretty much.
I said, men are very trainable.
Well,
And
some men, some men, not
decent,
all.
you know what I'm saying? Decent
Because
men
I was
want a-
married to
want a happy
someone
wife.
who didn't want sex,
Well,
who
he's a
didn't
retard.
want to be affectionate, who didn't want
He's
to
stupid.
and it was awful because I had 6 years of my life
That you can't get back.
why don't you want me? Why don't you want to cuddle me? You know, and sex was like, oh no.
Sure.
You know, and it did affect me, but now I've had many years to process that. And I look back and think, what a waste of my life and time that although I learned lots from it, don't get me wrong, what a waste in time of myself and my life. And now I think you can hear as you're talking, Scotty, you can hear your anger and also your passion. And that is something as time goes on, you will power into something else, because this is still very raw with you right now.
Oh, sure.
And
That's
you
what I was
need
And
to deal with
sometimes
I was gonna say,
sometimes
this sounds very
anger
good.
or passion
that.
or raised voice
100%.
comes out because
You're pissed.
you're more frustrated than anything else.
100%.
And it's like, don't ask me to do that. I asked for a hug 3 weeks ago
Yeah, it's
and I
it.
didn't get it. Don't
It's-
ask me to
Well,
take out the
I
garbage.
think sex and affection should never be used as a chore, or as if you do
No, it
this for me,
shouldn't.
I'll do this for you. That is not a very healthy thing to do at all.
You know what I tell women a lot of times? If you withhold sex from your husband and use it, oh, you did not do this.
Or
So that-
wife,
or-
or
yeah.
wife.
But no,
Yeah.
I'm talking from the male perspective, you know what I'm saying? Or either or.
Mm.
It is like, you want me to pay all the bills. You want me to be faithful and loyal and take care of all this stuff. But yet I screw up one time and you said, oh, I've got a headache. I'm going to bed. It's not like you can run next door and say, hey, Mrs. Johnson, can I have a little bit? My wife said I'm cut off. Can I borrow you just
And,
like
you know,
a little
frankly,
cup of whatever?
That doesn't even work.
No.
Not that I've done that, but I could not, during my marriage, ever imagine myself. I could imagine it.
Mm.
I could not have gone out and actually done something like that,
Yeah.
because all I would see would be my wife in my mind's eye. I would be racked with guilt for breaking my vows, all of those things because of the situation you're in. So finding it somewhere else. I had somebody tell me once, why don't you just go out and hire a hooker? I said, because I don't want to have sex with a hooker. That's not what it's about.
And you're not cheap.
So, those kinds of things are, it's a delicate balance that is so easy. I put up a little post the other day, or a week ago or two, that it just said, imagine how easy life would be if we just got out of the way of ourselves. And sometimes in marriage, that's all it is. I'm not getting what I need, so I'm not going to give you what you need.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't know what you needed. And now that I know what you needed, I wasn't doing that because I was so pent up about not having any intimacy with my wife that it drove me nuts. And it wasn't like we're sex starved over here. Oh, I can't wait. I got to have sex with my wife. It's not that. It's the withdrawal of affection. It's the withdrawal of physical affection, no matter what form that takes.
Yeah.
And when that happens, that drives guys insane too.
It's,
It hurts us,
what is
which
it?
we're not supposed to say because we're guys.
Yeah. You got to
But,
have that big chest out. Just like, lay it on my shoulders. I can take it. And,
Right.
but something that I was thinking about that he said earlier, it reminds me, like, what is it? They say death by 1,000 cuts. If you get tore down and tore down and tore down, it's just the little things. They pick away at your masculinity. And I have told somebody one time, you cannot beat him like a workhorse and talk about how shitty he is in public and expect him to be a porn star for you when you take him behind closed doors, because you've done demasculated him. You've done, torpedoed his ego. And men are ego-driven creatures.
Well, you said we're simple guys.
Yeah.
A woman could get us to do anything she wants us to do.
Yeah.
If she also reciprocated the love and affection.
Yeah. Like
It's like guys are dumb in a sense. And I mean that in a different way. I mean, we're like, no, I'm not going to do that. I don't feel like doing that. Well, come on, honey. That must make you feel bad. Come on over here. Let's cuddle naked for a while. And the guy's like, anything you want.
But let me ask you a question, Scotty. And I need to ask you a question because I might, I've just had this conversation with Michael. Do you think, and I'm asking a yes or no question here. Do you think that over the years you looked at yourself and your body as an important and special vessel?
I don't think in those terms because it doesn't hit me as, oh yeah, or no. So I never thought of it in those terms. But I think I started to believe I was undesirable on a certain level. And that's what led me to believe there might be deeper problems here than I know of, because you just don't do this when you love somebody.
No.
And
that, what I'm trying
what people forget in their relationships is that you do things because you love the other person, not because has to be a tit for tat and a give and take and a list that you do and a list that you don't.
and that's
You do
what
things, you operate out of loving the other person.
But what I'm trying to do is look at you, because we're looking at ourselves, and we don't see, I mean, certainly when I was growing up, and certainly as I went into relationships in my life, I didn't, did I look at my body as if it was a temple? It took me years to actually go, this is a precious life force, and if I give my body to you, and there are different things, as Michael and I were talking about, there's the one-off or a quickie or whatever. You don't share that connection. You don't have that life force. You don't have that power. But when you're with someone, but it's like, but sometimes in ourselves, because we've been hurt, we've been rejected, traumatized, it starts to come out in health problems. It can manifest, if we're keeping
Sure.
everything in, if we're holding on to a lot of trauma and anger and resentment, that has to go somewhere.
I'm sorry.
So what I'm saying is you start to have health issues. Now, when I listen, and obviously you and I know each other quite well, but when I listen to you, there's a lot of hurt. There's a lot of anger from the previous relationship, which is coming to an end. But it's like, what about you now? What about you? Forget that, because that is gone. It's about you now. So do you see yourself now as somebody who deserves, and you're going to make sure that you absolutely get what you feel? And obviously you said, I'm not changed.
I will certainly have expectations that are things that I want to have met, because what it really all comes down to is how much you care about the other person. It's all about caring about the other person. And if you care about the other person, sometimes your needs are a little subservient. Women say, well, I have to be subservient to my man's needs all the time. Well, how many needs do you think a guy has that he pushes down to be subservient to his wife? I think this is all a give and take. And the problem is nobody fucking communicates about it until it's too late. And then you're either struggling to try to get it to return, or you're struggling your way through going, what did I do wrong? How do I fix this? I can't fix this. Things like that. And it's all so avoidable if people just act out of the care they gave somebody when they married them. Did you not know this person when you married them? Yeah, there are revelations that come along. It's not usually, though, of the level of, I found out my husband was a serial killer. I mean, that's a different kind of revelation. But if you find out, well, my husband does this and needs more of that, and that's adaptability. Those are the things you adapt to do each other when you care about each other. And if you didn't care enough about each other to do that 20 years down the road, why the fuck did you get married in the first place?
So this is what I'm saying, babe, and I could feel the passion and the fire coming out of it.
That's what I'm saying. You talk about healing. This seems like what Scotty needed. He needed a sounding board.
Hang on. Expectations are not always a good thing to have, because we expect something to happen, and then when I've had them all my life, and when it doesn't happen, we go, fuck. What you have to have, which I think is a more healthier way, is, this is what I wish to find. This is what I'm looking for. Are you able to give that to me? Is what we're going to have in, because it's what I'm looking for. If you can't, that's okay. That's okay. But I'll be moving on, because I know what I deserve. I know what I want. I know what I need, and I know what I've been missing. But I think if you have an expectation, the problem is you will. I'm getting tired just listening to this. Sorry, Rapid, but you will be let down. And the thing is, there's a lot of anger coming out of you, baby. A lot of anger. That anger's got to go somewhere. Passion's a very good thing for that, but there's a lot of resentment. There's a lot of anger, and there's quite rightly. and that has got to come out. And
Well,
because if you know,
there's a thing about that. I don't hold resentment right now. I think, and as you and I know, because we talk all the time,
we do
for me to talk about this
all
kind of stuff,
the time,
the what's that?
all the time.
All the time.
We know each other so well.
The stuff under the surface is so close to the surface
Mm.
that it can break through if I'm not careful.
Yeah.
And it gets me emotive as opposed to thinking through what I'm saying.
Yeah, you can
But-
always leave rapid.
But there are things that happen that I can't even remember how I was going to articulate that. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff that goes on that is problems are all avoidable. I just heard somebody say there's not a single issue between married people that is not resolvable, save for, a couple of extremes. Adultery, that's even resolvable. I've known many people where a husband has left a wife because he wants to shag the secretary, thinks he's
Yeah.
going to have a great life with her, and 8 months later finds out that wasn't what he wanted, and his wife forgives him, takes him back, and they have a wonderful marriage after that because they work on fixing it. They work on rebuilding something new. But many times, all of this stuff happens because people aren't communicating with each other. They're not being honest with each other. In my case, there was everything in the world was a reason why that wasn't happening. And I'm like, okay, I have to believe her. I have to be honest. And then I find out it's something different at the end when there's no opportunity given anymore. And I think I'm a pretty good guy. And I think I listen pretty well. And I think I care very well. But sometimes, and of course, it's two people. It takes two people willing to be involved with each other, willing to stop isolating themselves from each other. That's the biggest problem in a marriage that falls apart.
A partnership.
There's isolation all of a sudden. There's my life and your life. And they forget we joined lives for a reason. And you know what? Marriage is not a partnership. Marriage is a merger. You merge two
Blend.
different, it's like merging two different companies. It's not a partnership because partnerships can be broken in a heartbeat. You merge them together and everything is commingled together, then it doesn't break. Not as easily anyway. There has to be extremes. And so, and there was a point I was going to make originally with that I can't remember what it was, but it was along the same line. So,
Well, obviously, what I was just going to say to you, what a very attractive light you have behind you.
oh, why, thank you. There was somebody I know and love very much that gave that lamp to me.
I think it's very nice. I just happened to see it in the background, and I was like, I recognize that.
Where did that come from?
I'm not sure.
That is the European shelf. It's got the Leaning Tower.
Yeah, isn't that a British light?
Yeah, British light with what's that?
Well, it's not
Eiffel
fine
Tower.
red, white, blue, but it definitely came from the land of the Brits. So that's for
Yes,
sure.
and may I say, thank you again for that lamp.
You are so welcome. You are
That's all
so
right.
welcome.
That's-
It's an interesting subject, and this is a good time to bring in another thing because some years ago, Scotty and I started off a little old chat podcast called Robertson.
Yes.
And we'd known each other for so long that we talked about everything over the years, and we were like, we should do this show, and we did. We did do Robertson, and it was really good fun, and we talked about a lot of different subjects, and there were so many ways we wanted to go, and then life went shit, and
Yep.
as I said, I never even thought I would ever do it again with you because I didn't think you were going to live, and I was praying that you would live, because first of all, you've been one of my oldest friends, but also like you so deserve that. So the good news is that from this Tuesday, touch wood, cross whatever, Scotty and I return with Robertson Robertson
Yes,
to
we do.
YouTube. And I'm sure people that are watching right now, they probably have seen us before. It's been a long time since we were 2024. The last time we were there.
The
right?
last show we had, we talked about the Great Fire in the Great London Fire of whatever century it was.
A long
It
time.
was
1400s, I can't remember.
the Great Fire of London, and one of the things that Scotty does, he's an amazing illustrator and artist. But he would actually come up, he'd go, "I'm going to do a new banner. I'm going to do a new banner," and I'd say, "What are you going to do this time?" "I'm going to pick one of your photographs. Leave it with me." And he picked this, and I must put it up next week. He did this picture of me wearing a sort of a uniform jacket,
Oh,
and
yeah.
I had like a steampunk. Glasses. It was so cool. But so I'm just going to bring this up because I actually did upload this, and obviously people.
And I will say, this is not AI. This is digital art I did in Photoshop. So it's digital illustration work. This is what I've done for a living for 40 years, guys. So
I'm trying to bring this up. There we go. Let's bring this in.
man, who are those two hotties?
I mean, to be honest, I'm just going to say something here. It's like the car one blew my mind because literally, like, you've never seen the Impala.
I've never been there. I've never, folks, I was going to say, we have never seen each other eye to eye ever. We've never met personally face to face. And so all those pictures are things we manufactured for the show. And I've certainly never been on the top of her Impala.
Not yet.
Wow. There's a euphemism in there somewhere.
But literally, I met Scotty through MySpace many years ago. He had the best MySpace I've ever seen in my life back then. It was really good, and he used to have all these little pictures up and little different squares. It was brilliant, and that's how we started to talk. And so I remember Scotty for all the history of like Scotch and cookies and then going to Egypt and the TV show and all the kind of things and the books, which I am lucky to have in my collection. I think I have all three actually, but I'm
working on the other ones.
Yeah, but when we started Robertson Robertson, I was in awe because I'd only done a few shows with Mark on Strangely Us, and I had no idea how Robertson Robertson was going to go. And our first show was pre-recorded, and I loved the fact that it was pre-recorded because there was nobody talking. It was really lovely because I think what happens is when people were talking, you get distracted and then they come in and you lose your train of thought. And I think that was the only show where we focused exactly on the topic and we didn't have anyone else, interacting, which is great, don't get me wrong, but sometimes when you're trying to get all the things out, it made it easy. So, and I looked down at some of the things we talked about, and we'd get together and we'd say, what are we going to talk about tonight, and or what we can talk about next week, and we'd go through different subjects. So now there's Wicked Women and Robertson coming back. There will be two very different shows on. They might cross over from time to time, but I'm just thrilled you're still with us and we're still doing this.
Yeah, you had us worried. UKB, that's what I said, the Little Wicked family, we fought it. We have fought the good fight. And I was going to ask you, how many books do you have? Because I have the one that I always show and plug all the time.
I have, my first one was The Rollicking Adventures of Tam O'Hare, illustrated. And the second one was The Rise and Fall of the Nephilim. Then that was followed up by The Secret History of the Reptilians. Yeah. That was followed up by my book I did with John Ward, The Exodus Reality. Then I did The Sword in the Clay with Manitou Free Traders Press. And then I did, after that one was my own book, this one, The First 12 Days. And this one I self-published because if my publisher had done it, he said it wouldn't come out till next fall. And so I said, I want it out for this Christmas, this last year. So I published it myself December 1st. And so those are all the books I have out. I got a couple of other ones, illustrated books. I've still got How to Be an Archaeologist is going to be coming out. And I was doing that with somebody else who started that 5 years ago. And so I'll probably just tell them I want to publish that. So
now that you got
fully
this,
illustrated book.
you know what I'm saying? Now that you got this free time on your hands.
Well, I mean,
all I got these
it's a
days.
whole new ball of wax, isn't it? I mean, like, you know, and I remember, and I think it's something that we might talk about, or at least hint at something on Roberts and Robertson, which is the first episode we talked about, which was that Scotty was obviously in a long-term marriage. I was single for a while, and he was like, I don't know what it's like out there. I don't know what it's like because I haven't been out there for so long, you know, and I was like, this is what it's like out there. It's fucking shit. And now it's
Buy the
like,
helmet, put
through
on
no fault of his own or whatever, he's now going to be in that position. And I'm like, welcome to my world, babe. And, you know, and it's a
knock off
whole
the ship.
whole-
Nobody throws you out. Those you the life vest. You know what I'm saying? When they knock you into the shark infested waters, you don't have the life preserver. You don't. You know, what's the little ring? They always say, "Oh, somebody's drowning." Throw it to them. Even if they had it, they're like, "Fuck him." They ain't throwing them shit. You know, I want to. And it's like people get brave, and it's like, holy shit.
There is an honesty level I have to have here. And you know this about me, Wendy. We've talked about this stuff in so much detail, but there is that thing where you just say, you know, there's a wide open ocean and, you know, it's whatever is out there, the wide open world. And my first inclination when all this started was, I will never, ever, ever be able to invest myself in another woman again for as long as I live, because I just spent 21 years investing myself in this one. And you start thinking, can I love somebody else? Sure, that can come. But then it's like, oh, fuck, I don't know if I can do this again. And you get that feeling. That's part of the baggage that comes along with this kind of thing. It's like, I don't know if I can do that. At least not, that's me speaking to myself. And it doesn't mean you're not capable of it. It means from the vantage point you're in now, you look at that and you go, that's too daunting. I don't think I could ever do that again, you tell yourself.
But
and
you
so
will.
You jinx yourself from the beginning. And there might be, I'll tell you, and you know this, Wendy, I've had plenty of female attention all of a sudden. And I look at myself and I go, I'm 65 years old. I'm no spring chicken. I'm in pretty good shape, even though I'm missing a leg. You know, I'm building my muscular structure back up and all of that. So I'm strong. I'm healthy, so to speak, and with health issues, but I'm okay. But that's not what my concern is. It's you come out of something like this for such a long period of time and you say, I am no longer going to be somebody that's attractive to the opposite sex to begin with.
Yeah.
I believe it or not, I have a lot of 75 to 80-year-old women that hit on me.
Well, I wouldn't just say they're all that
Remind
age.
me of Elmer back in the war. You know,
It's not all that age, though. But the thing is, it would be interesting to do because, as I said, for the first time, you and I will be on exactly the same road that you know that wasn't there until we met. When we met, we were on that road. I was single, you were single when we met. And you know, I eventually got married. I think. What year did you get married?
2000. We met in 2004. and we got married in 2007.
So I got married before you. I got married in 2005, and I met you.
I
I think I
remember.
met you just before you met. Just before you met Rainey. I think I
Yep,
just.
we've known each other as long as Rainey and I have known each other.
And literally, and then I got married, and that all went to shit. And over the years, so it's like we met when we were single. Now we're single, and it's like we now come from the same thing. And I've been where you are, not 20 years, but I've been where you are, coming out of a marriage and being rejected and all that kind of stuff. I've had that, and it was like, oh, I'm never going to do this. Who's going to want me? Who's going to attract me? All that lot. You know, I felt so shit. My husband had rejected me for so long. He didn't want to have sex with me. He'd rather got on the internet and talk to other people and boost his ego and all that kind of stuff. But now I look back, and obviously some years have gone past now, but you one thing I had which you don't have is I was younger. I was a lot younger when this happened, and we have to make the most of every single day of our life, because if we just go, well, I'm just going to leave it there and sit there, life still carries on without us. So you've got to make the most of every opportunity, and it's like there are a lot of ladies out there that will love you and want you. And
I don't even need to hear that. Because I don't care.
I would tell Scotty.
I know you don't. Now. You don't care now. But there will come a time
winters up north are very cold.
You that, my friend. You will, and you'll be like, you know what? I think I'm ready to put a toe in that water. Just a toe, to see what it feels like. I'm just going to put a little toe in there. I'm blushing as I say this, but I'm just going to put a little toe in there to see how it goes. And it goes from there. That's how.
Well, I think you should come over for a visit, just to help me organize my books.
I am up for a visit completely.
I've got like 100 boxes of books that I don't know where I'm going to put them all.
It'll be like charity, keep.
Charity, as
we say over here.
Charity.
I'm looking forward to it, because hopefully I hope to go to Canada, and then you're right next door to me, you guys. So
well, kind of. Where you want to go in Canada is like me driving from. Remember, I'm in western Wisconsin near the Twin Cities in Minnesota. That's like going to New York, which is a 21-hour drive. I go to Calgary. That's even more. So you're next door on the map. You're like, look at that. See? You're here and Calgary's here, and it's like that's like 2,000 miles. So
at least I'm nearer you there than I am here, right?
You're 3,000 miles away right now.
Yeah, I know. And it's going to be weird, because I hope this is the year that we all get to meet each other, because we have been a family on this for so long. And I think it's time that we actually stop that and eventually make the calendar that we've all talked about having, and still wanting to do it. And honestly, Scotty, I am so thrilled. And I say this, with Val and Michael, we sat here for weeks going, oh my God, please let Scotty get through this. Let him come through this. Let him survive.
Well,
and here you are.
I'm gonna tell you something, and I actually put this up in a post on my Facebook after the captain's cabin the other night, and it's just verbal is all I put in here, and where did I say this? Right here. I said, this is from tonight's captain's log. This was 17 hours ago, so this was last night, I think. I said, a few lines worth carrying with you. Longing doesn't cancel integrity. Grief doesn't negate dignity. Strength doesn't require the absence of pain. And I said, stay the course. And the thing with this is that you can heal, you can love, you can give, you can have strength and dignity. That doesn't necessarily equate to eradication of grief or eradication of the big hole in your chest.
That's right.
You do because you need to do.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing I would fear bringing to anybody that didn't understand me very well or didn't want to love me or didn't know what they were going to decide about me. You come to somebody with that and they're like, oh, you know,
You do have to like come from, I'm sure Michael will agree, you do have, when you get involved with anyone, and it will take you a while,
Yeah.
because at the end of the day, you're still healing, but heal you will, even though you'll have wounds and scars and hurts, but heal you will. And there will come a time, Michael, I'm sure you'll agree with me, where time is a great healer, and you will look at your life and you'll go, okay. And you will. Michael, do you not agree?
That's what I was going to tell him a while ago. And like I said, he's such a great storyteller. A lot of times I just get immersed into listening to it. But that's what I was going to tell him. Sometimes you got to back away from the fight. And that's what it is. A divorce is a fight. And a lot of people don't like it. They're always like, oh, this is admirable or whatever. Or we left on happy grounds. Bullshit. If you was happy, you wouldn't have got fucking divorced. You know what I'm saying? It's like, they want this, I want this. And you come to a resolute in the middle that both parties can agree on. You come to basically a stalemate, and the judge divides up your assets. So you got to back up and you got to triage all of the emotional damage that it done, that you have been unpacked on or unloaded on. Then you have people come at you like, well, use this, and this. This is why I don't love you no more. This is why I fell out of love with you. This is why I replaced you. And all of that. And what? And we're, if it's intentional, they're a real bitch. And I've heard people do it intentionally. If you just want to do a foreclosure and say, hey, this is why this didn't work, that is one thing. But my uncle used to tell me there was two ways to tell somebody. You could be honest or you could be brutally honest, which is cruel. And a lot of people are brutally honest, and they are, and it's very cruel to people. And I always said that, if you had any ounce of love for that person that you was in a relationship with, pull your punches so you're not so brutally honest and destructive to them emotionally and physically. Because
it's
and that's what I'm saying. You got to triage the wounds that you got through the marriage, then coming out of the marriage. And like I said, and we saw a lot of it. And the same way, we talked to Steve before the show. Scotty came in after the show one day, and I don't like putting it out there, but I had a pretty good go. And I'm like, look, dude, this is what you are. Don't let this other person dictate how you feel about yourself. It's not fair to you. And I asked him, I said, where's the author? Where's the adventure? Where's the guy that told me, basically, don't believe shit they have to say. Question everything. It's inside my book that I always promote. So, at the end of the day, you got to triage the damage that these people inflicted on you emotionally and physically. And everybody's like, well, how do you got physical damage if they never beat you? If you get beat down so much, your immune system goes, to shit. And you end up feeling sick to your stomach. You end up with migraines. You end up depression. Depression is one of the worst things that can kill your self-esteem, kill your ability to get out of bed and express yourself artistically. So, you got to kind of take all that in as like, well, why did I really give all of myself to this person that's going to torpedo me on every chance they get? So, that's what I was saying when I could hear you. Like,
I'll tell you something. And I added this in my book, the little scene with my son, my 16-year-old, Flynn. And this was in the middle of when all this divorce stuff had started.
Yeah.
I was sitting in my wheelchair. I was still awake, and my son came up and kind of crying and told me his girlfriend broke up with him, and he was real broken up about it. And I said, come here, and I gave him a hug. I couldn't stand up because I didn't have a leg. And he looks at me and he says, now I know how you feel about Mom. And he said, one person pulls the plug and the other one's left to bleed out.
Pretty much. And that's what I said. The reason the scar tissue heals back thicker is, if you ever see that, if you see like calluses, that I've learned a lot. I'm older. I know I'm saying I'll be 50 for my birthday. And it's been 54 hard years. You know what I'm saying? Everybody's like, oh, you look good. I was like, well, I feel like shit. I'm high mileage. But you get calluses on your hands, which is scars from just hard work. And if you have to work so hard and just keep working, it just keeps getting more calloused and calloused and calloused. And before long, you lose the feelings in them. The same way, if you have to keep putting in all that hard work into a relationship, and no matter how hard you do it, and you don't get no response to it, sooner or later you lose them feelings because you have got so calloused. And then when people just keep cutting you down and emotionally wounding you, and that wound heals back, that scar tissue keeps getting wider and wider. The same way when your body heals back from a surgery. I've had surgery on my back, you on your leg. Wendy's probably had surgeries. I've got scar tissue. I can't feel. The skeletal part hurts, the muscle or the skin on my back. You can sit there and pinprick it, don't feel it. You know what I'm saying? Because same way with emotional wounds. Sooner or later, you check the fuck out. It's like, no wall, no nothing. It's just like emotionally dead.
Michael, would you agree though? Sorry to just cut in, but it's like I don't do it now, but I did. We tend to put all of us into a relationship and forget about us. We become, my whole life and happiness and everything is tied up in this person and this marriage, and we forget about us. So then when we come out of it, we're kind of like juggling the balls in the air going, well, I don't know what to do with myself. I don't know who I am, because I put everything of mine into that situation, and now I'm empty. I've given everything I can, and I don't know where I'm going or what I'm doing. And it's like, this is the problem. It is not healthy to put all our happiness in someone else and a relationship.
And somebody else's control of your happiness.
But sometimes also we are demanded to give more of ourselves emotionally by someone, and it's chipped away at us, so chipped away. So in the end, we don't realize we have become a shell of who we once were. And one thing I'd say, because I've known Scotty a very long time, so I can say this, he has been an empty shell for a very, very long time. Now, it doesn't mean he wasn't capable of love, because he was, and he loved and he gave it to the best of his ability. But inside here was a guy, and I'm sure he won't mind me saying it because we've been very honest. He cried out for affection. He cried out for attention. He cried out to feel like he was important and that he mattered. And the fact is, everybody that knew him would see that and understand it. And he still tried to overcompensate by, this is the amazing situation, this is an amazing person. He overcompensated, because that's what we do when we love someone so much and we don't get it back, but we don't want to lose them and we want to keep working it. We overcompensate and we lose pieces of ourselves to someone else. And it's only when we come out and you're down the road and you're still just starting that road, but when you start looking down the road, you actually turn around and you go, wow.
Yeah.
I didn't realize how much of me I absolutely lost, because I put all of me and I gave it to that person. I went, there you go. There's all of me. Take it.
My initial reaction is, I'm in the room. No, but I
it's true.
Like I said,
I have a little familial crisis that rose up with all my daughters. And I've got to tend to it. They said 5:15 they were going to call me, and I don't want that phone to just ring and I got to jump. So I got to get out of here. It was nice being here. Thank you. Thank you for the kind words.
Yes, sir.
And I've got to go take care of this. And Wendy, I'll see if you're up a little later, and I'll let you know what's going on. But that's all. So thanks, everybody. And thanks, Wendy. Thanks, Michael.
See you soon.
Yes, sir.
Talk to you later.
Yeah.
It's an emotive subject, and I hope that people that have watched tonight can take something from it. Maybe they're listening to what Scotty's going through, or where you were. I mean, Michael, you spoke with such emotion, but maybe people will take something from it. And if one person watches this episode tonight and it means something to them, then we've helped.
I don't think Scotty would mind me saying, like I said, because like I said, we are a family, and sometimes if you cannot be truthful with your family, your extended
100%.
family, you're not really that tight.
And we're all truthful. When all of us are behind the scenes, we are.
And like I said, behind the scenes that night he popped in, and and I felt like shit because I looked up or still look up, Scotty, because he got me out. I'd gone on the captain's cabin with him at night, on Intrepid Radio, and a lot of the other guys. I'm fumbling like a blind man, in a fun house, and I'm just trying to feel my way through learning the hard way, and it just rolls off. He projects his voice and all that, and I seen him being tore down and treated like shit, and it pissed me off. And I seen him; he just kept trying and kept trying. He was the old workhorse that just kept trying to get footing for one more lunge. Try to get the wagon up the hill. And it wasn't going anywhere, and he was just getting the shit beat out of him.
Doesn't it also remind you of us when you see someone else going through it? You're like, that was me.
That was me. And once you say, that was me, you're like, well, fuck me. I'm not going to let my friend go down that same road.
But unfortunately, you have to, right?
And it made me feel like crap, And I've talked to him since, and I told him, I said, I did not mean to really, and. It was like, oh, how bad was it? You can ask Wendy. You can probably see by her eyes. It was about an hour because when I am not ADHD bound, driven, and seeing squirrels, and I was on point because I was.
Thank you, Barbara.
And I said, Barb. Barb is another. She's always there. And
talk about. See, the thing is, what I do know is I put out a title, and I'm not doing so many promos, so people really don't know what we're going to talk about until we do. And I think that as we start to unravel things. And I do want Wicked Women to become more intense and different subjects. So, and we are, we've got a lot of things coming up, a lot of changing things. People wanted some paranormal. We have paranormal coming up with Mark English on the 1st of February. We also have AJ and the Rescues, which is still coming up. Dwayne Classen returns, and also. We've got some other subjects as well coming up. And I'm
going to show his book one more time for the paranormal. There is.
Mark will love you for doing that.
Yeah, Mark can help.
I have a different cover than that.
Mark. I wish I'd had a.
Is there a picture of Mark on there?
That's what I was looking for. I don't see him. He's got a lot of pictures in here, but I don't see. Oh, was that him from years ago? Oh, he's gonna get me for
where? What is that? Yes, that was Mark from many years ago.
Many moons ago.
Yeah.
He's aged with grace, and like I said, yeah.
Mark's very plain speaking though. But I mean, Barbara, thank you so much, and yes, Val, look forward to seeing you back as well. And in the meantime, Michael, you I'm so grateful. You're amazing, and I really was impressed with you talking with Scotty like that tonight because you can hear you're talking.
Like I said,
thanks.
When you see a friend hurt, I've always been the type. If I see my friends hurting, it pisses me off. You know what I'm saying? And it gives me that drive. And once I get, I'm like a dog with a bone. And once I get on that drive, I'm like a bloodhound or the bastard you got roaming around somewhere there. My nose is to the ground, and it's full steam ahead. And it's something that we can learn by watching. And I always tell people like, share, and subscribe because we are the beacon of hope on Sundays. We're the little lighthouse of fun activities. I'm trying to get her to do.
Val and I picked a Sunday because we looked at different days to do, and I said, look, let's do Sunday because what do people really do on a Sunday? So, and it's like as I said, Robertson is back this Tuesday at 9:00 UK time, which will be exactly the same times, 2 p.m. Mountain, 3 p.m.
Central,
and then 4 p.m. Eastern, right?
And it's whatever West Coast time.
So that will be on Tuesday night, YouTube, all being well, unless something major happens. And we will be back next Sunday.
I want to know if people want to see 3 days a week of Wicked Women of the Mornings for a morning show, like a variety show. I'll do it in my pajamas because it'll be like 8 o'clock. Her midday would be like my 8 o'clock in the morning. It made me realize. how
It made me realize I was wrong for waiting so long to get help now, and now I'm at the I don't care point. That's a shame, love, and it really hit home for me. I think a lot of us wait too long,
far
and
apart
it's if we perhaps had it brought to our attention. I didn't even know when I was in an abusive relationship. I never even knew it. The second one. Steve says as well, thank you everyone, you will teach me much. Likewise, Steve, we all teach each other.
Like I said, if anybody ever gets the chance to talk to Steve, it is very enjoyable. Steve is
well, one of these days we might get him on the show. We actually did see him in the pre-show, and it was like, hello.
Steve is absolutely, yeah, he's absolutely wonderful, and you know, we hear and love everybody that watches a part of the Wicked Women show, and you know, Intrepid Radio, Robertson, and you know, like I said, unapologetically male. I just got to find a male co-host.
And you will. And you will, because like literally, as I said, strangely us, Roberts and Robertson are now Wicked Women. And you know, Wicked Women, if as I said, please like, share and subscribe. Tell other people about Sunday nights on YouTube. You can see it live on Facebook as well. And we used to do Instagram, but there is a day show coming as well. I haven't forgotten that. It may actually be this week coming. Looking at my diary, I may actually be able to do that. It's possible. In the meantime, if there's any subjects you want us to look at or tackle, let us know. We're more than happy to do that.
Facebook, yeah. Wicked Women has the Facebook page. Yeah, Wicked Women at 888, I think.
We do. You can find us on Instagram and Facebook, and also YouTube. Michael, I hope you have a wonderful week. Thank you for being such an amazing co-host. It's quite nice to have a different dynamic, and I'm sure if it was you and Val, it would be just as interesting as well. I wish everybody a safe and happy, healthy week. And Val, obviously, to get better as soon as possible. We want to see more people come and join us on Wicked Women as well. And please, as I say, look out for next week's show. I haven't put it up yet, but the one I'm really looking forward to, and not that I'm not looking forward to next week, I'm looking forward to the 1st of February with Mark, because I think that's going to be quite an interesting show. We're going to be looking at some of his book and some of the ghosts, or as he likes to call it, paranormal stuff. Charlie, thank you for tonight, guys. It was an interesting evening chat. Wendy, I'll touch base with you. Absolutely. You know where I am, girly. I am going to go now. I have to get up early in the morning because there's someone waiting for the Impala, so I have to do that. Michael, love you heaps. Thank you for being a great co-host.
Yes, ma'am. Anytime.
I'm gonna try and find our music so I don't cut us off like I did last week. Where are we? There she is. Okay. In the meantime, take care of each other. Have a great week. See you soon. See you next week. Bye.